pass it on to our special guest, Brienne.
Can I be a guest? Hey, everybody. Just wanted to say hi. I've been out for a few months on maternity leave for anyone who didn't know. This is little baby Jay Fisher, who was born on April 29th, and he is obviously the sweetest and cutest baby who ever lived. So thank you all for all of your hard work over the summer, especially my amazing team for carrying on this work and for y'all for sticking with this process. I'm in the process of watching the recordings from the meetings that y'all have had over the past few months and just excited to dive back into things and um, continue to work with you. So let me know whenever you need another baby picture break, and I'm gonna mute myself now. And I'll pass it to Kyla.
Hello, everybody. Today's agenda, as mentioned earlier, will be going over the information that we did not complete at our last meeting. Of course, we've already settled in a little bit, and we'll go over the ground rules very shortly. Um, for the presentation, there will be a review of the equitable implementation and accountability framework. We'll continue with the activity from last time to define implementation and readiness partners and next steps. And if you're able to assist with providing information on funding mechanisms, we're very much open to that as well. Then we'll have our conclusion for our wrap up and our next steps. For our ground rules, we want to make sure everyone is maintaining respect, being present, that everyone participates but no one dominates. To be additive and not repetitive. Make sure you're aiming for consensus. So if you can live with something, we can just move on from it. We're going to be open to new ideas. And if you bring a problem, please also bring a solution to the table. You're going to separate the people from the actual problem and make sure you're speaking for yourself and from your own experiences and not speaking for the community. And if you would like, you can utilize the various emoji tools to give reactions. And Elmo, enough, let's move on. That is our 7-second rule for this group. So if there's 7 seconds of silence, we'll move on to the next thing. Back to you, Don.
All right, thanks, Kyla. And it's great to see so many more people logging on. I know this is, summer and it's August and we all are ready to just probably be somewhere else. But and it's lunchtime is on top of all of that. So just want to thank you for being here. We're going to move this right along and want to make sure we are getting to the end, folks. We are getting towards the end of our implementation stage, and we have one more meeting with you guys before we start working on drafting the plan. So really exciting that we're all the way through to the creating implementation framework and metrics and the end of the orange circles. Again, just to review the draft structure for those of you who haven't been here for the past couple meetings, we're all the way down to implementation. What we're thinking about today are all of the elements. We're brainstorming all of the elements that will go into how are we going to equitably implement, measure progress, and ensure accountability in this plan. So this is the second of a 3-part meeting series where we're really trying to brainstorm those elements. So again, earlier this summer, we worked at the impacts of our strategies and we put together impact maps where we looked at outputs and outcomes to get towards the equitable next steps. And then the impacts we'll be considering in the final meeting in a few weeks, where we'll talk about how we will ensure accountability and transparency. So just briefly want to go back over that equitable implementation and accountability framework for you all. At the last meeting and at today's meeting, we're going back through the readiness of the strategies, equitable next steps, implementation partners, potential implementation partners, just a brainstorm, and then potential funding and financing mechanisms. Don't want to spend a lot of time. We went back in the work that was done at the last meeting, and I know that, sometimes we didn't necessarily have we spent a lot of time trying to brainstorm some of these elements, and we don't need to do that. If you don't have an idea, we will move on. So this time we're going to move a little quicker in that activity. And so the funding and financing mechanisms, that is on us. We'll figure it out. But if you guys have great ideas, of a best practice, of something that could work or something that should be explored, we do want to hear that, because that's going to go into a part of the big picture. So specifically, want to just remind you all of what those 4 elements mean. So the first one, readiness, is what activities are already occurring and what might be needed to get the strategy off the ground. So that's just the status of the subcomponent. Then the equitable next steps is considering what immediate next steps can we identify to equitably roll out that strategy. So that's where you'll want to be thinking about the pros and cons of these strategies, and how can we really be thinking about an equitable implementation. The partners, again, that's just a brainstorm of who we want to consider including in the plan, or including in the discussion of how the strategy will roll out. And then the funding and financing, if you have ideas about what does financing look like for that type of strategy, we certainly want to capture that in that column. The subcomponents, I don't need to spend a lot of time here. I think that everyone understands that the overarching strategy language is in the first column, and then the subcomponents are what we've kind of broken the strategy down into. Those are kind of the actions, what make the strategy smarty, to make sure that they're actionable. And then let's see, the readiness. This is the status of each strategy, like I said. So you'll want to be thinking for that subcomponent, is it ongoing? Is it already underway? Is it ready to go? Is it aligned for implementation? Does it possibly require some city action? Does something need to be, a policy need to be put in place, or something done at the administrative or council level? Or is there state action required? Maybe there's some legislation that needs to get passed before we can actually roll out that strategy. So we want to be thinking about those components first, and then jumping into those equitable next steps. So again, this is where we want to really take the time to review the equity screening tool, if you have that handy. That asks some great questions and really helps us think about what are 1 to 3 key next steps to address the major equity gaps or disparities that the strategy could address. And then be thinking about how we can prioritize equity in that rollout. That's where we want to that's where we're going to spend most of the time in the breakout. And then the final one is, or not the final one, the next one, this brainstorm of others that we might want to connect with. So this is, who needs to be involved in the implementation of the strategy in order for it to be successful, who needs to be at the table, and then also just a brainstorm of potential inclusion. In no way is it tapping people for involvement. It's just the beginning of that implementation journey. So no one is being assigned, and nothing will be published without reaching out to those identified partners. We're just trying to be inclusive to make sure our office isn't just brainstorming partners that we know about, but that we're also reaching out to others who need to be invited to this conversation. So be thinking about all of those potential stakeholders that you know of so that we can capture them there. And let's see, then the final one is the financing and funding mechanisms. And again, we don't want to spend a lot of time on this one, because I know that's, there are a lot of question marks around that one. But if you do know of grants, and you do know of potential organizations that might want to partner on something, or even just best practices for a certain strategy, this one makes a lot of sense if you do it with a partnership. Or this one, I've seen this one work elsewhere where there was a user fee that was implemented. that kind of level of best practices are good to capture, but if you don't know of any, we will move on. And so with that, we're going to go into our activity a little sooner today, but I certainly want to make sure that everyone here knows what's going on and that all of your questions have been answered. So let me just pause.
I have a question. I don't have the link handy for the document where we laid out the pros and cons, like that like was in the questions. I don't remember what that activity
The
was.
impact mapping.
Yeah, is that handy somewhere? And maybe somebody could slip it in the chat unless somebody's already done that, because I don't remember the cons when we start diving into the equitable next steps, like because we weren't all in the same room at that time.
Sure. Let's see. So if someone on our staff could find that that activity from the June meeting and put that link in the chat for Jen, that would be great. Good idea. Anything else? Okay, so what we're going to do today, a little differently, is go into 3 groups. So there'll be a couple of working group members per hopefully we'll have 2 or 3 per breakout, and we'll have 2 staff in each room. So one is going to be the facilitator and one is going to be a note taker / timekeeper. So we really want to get through all the rest of the subcomponents today, which means we have about 10 minutes per subcomponent. So the timekeeper is going to keep an eye on the clock and move us through. So if you are with Kyla and Brianne, you'll be talking about objective 1. And if you have access to the slide, you can type your name in there, or we will just place you, or you can call it out if you have a preference. Wendy and myself will be covering objective 2, and that one has 9 subcomponents related to the objective: reduce risks and impacts to the community and natural environment from extreme heat and drought. And then David and Kendra are going to do objectives 3 and 4. You can read those objectives there. You can put your name in at the bottom. And let's see, so Kyla is going to be setting up the breakout rooms. It does take a few minutes in Teams. So why don't we plan on sending everyone in 5 minutes at 1:26 into those rooms. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, she's going to randomly assign you to even them up. Okay, we're all experts at this by now. So Jen and Rob, I hear you guys have jokes. Do I have that right? Someone want to throw one out?
I have one.
Okay.
I went to a wedding over the weekend and it was so beautiful that even the cake was in tears. One's pretty bad. Did not go to a wedding over the weekend, but
yeah, but those are the best.
I have one. Can I tell it?
Yes.
Where do bad rainbows go? To Prism. All right, I'm done for the day.
That
Thanks,
was
guys.
excellent.
You're not supposed to laugh before the punchline, Brianne.
The laughing makes it funnier, though. That's what makes it funny.
I can't get through it. They're just hysterical.
Do you know what to call a fake noodle? An impasta. John, do you have any jokes?
No, I'm wondering if Peter does though. No? Wendy, do you?
No, I am terrible at remembering jokes.
I know, me too. I had a good one, but I can't remember it myself.
I'll start saving them. My little tear out page a day calendar has jokes on there once or twice a week, so I'll try and start saving them.
Okay. So how about fun plans this summer? Anyone here doing anything exciting that we can all live vicariously through? We have an intern who just left for Denmark. That's pretty exciting. All the people doing exciting things are not here.
Just the losers.
So Brianne, is baby Jay smiley?
He is. He's just starting to be smiley and he's starting to talk. He has nightly bedtime stories for me and frequently 3 a.m. chats, which are very cute, but I wish did not happen at that time. He
Aw.
has lots to say about goo and like spitting noises. So interpret that how you will.
Very, very cute.
I'm gonna log out of my second account, but it does work.
Okay,
Yeah.
good to know.
Yeah.
So when
Yeah.
we do go into those breakouts, we'll plan on coming back together at 1:50. Sorry, 2:50. And then we'll just have a close up and a question for you guys for a survey. So please stick around to the end because we want your feedback. A new survey, not the same one.
And Dawn, I'm just curious with Microsoft Teams breakouts, if we finish, let's say our group finishes, do we exit and come back to a main room or
So
join another room?
Kyla will put on the settings that you can return to the main room. And on the top right corner, the red leave will kick you out of the whole meeting. But if there's a return button that you can come back to the main.
Should we
you're
be
done.
working on something else or just come back?
You know, if your group's done early, come back to the main room and we can all help finish up together.
Okay.
And maybe we'll even wrap up early if we all get through. So yeah, that's a great question.
What time are we moving into breakout rooms?
We're ready if you are.
All right.
Hello, breakout room.
Hello, breakout room. I broke the rules. I really should have gone by topic to someplace else, but I needed to say hi and be with you. So
Yay! Thanks,
Yeah.
Rob.
indeed.
Well, hi, beautiful people.
Hi, Monica.
Congratulations, Brianne, and good to
Thank
see you, Rob.
you. Thank you. So we're just going to talk about my baby in here, right? We're not actually.
Yep.
Okay. All right. That's what I thought.
Good
Okay.
deal.
Good. As long as we're clear.
I'm kidding. Kyla has to keep us on task. So Kyla, you let me know. I did watch the recording from last time, but Kyla, you let me know how I can be most helpful since I wasn't here.
It's up to you. If you would like to take the notes from the discussion in the spreadsheet
Okay, I can do that. And then it looks like y'all stopped at objective 1.2, the Parks
Mhm.
Master Plan on
Yes,
tree.
we need to finish the 3 and 4, if
Okay.
I'm not mistaken.
All
Because I
right,
don't think we have anything for 3 and 4 is it.
cool.
Welcome everybody to this breakout room. I hope you all are having an amazing Monday. Um,
Isn't that an oxymoron? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that out loud.
So what we're going to do is just try to get through as much of these as possible. I guess we have like 10 minutes for each of these. So if you don't have anything to, if you just don't have anything, we're going to just move on and try to get as much as we can. And I guess we're going to go ahead and start our 10 minutes on the third subcomponent now, which is to establish a fee or fund for parks and green infrastructure maintenance and acquisition of new green space. An example is having a zero. Yes, sir.
Can somebody just, are we on the implementation activity spreadsheet?
Yes, on objective 1.2, sorry.
That's okay.
Is
All
there,
right.
is there any? Hi, Kalila. I apologize. I didn't see you there, and I thought your name showed up because you were the meeting organizer, but the breakout room organizer. But is there possible to put the slides up? I can't see them.
Oh, you want me to share them? I can definitely share my screen. Give me 1 second.
Thank you so much.
Oh, look at that. I actually can see where we are.
Mhm.
All right, are you able to see that, Monica?
I am. Thank you so much.
No problem. So we're on subcomponent 3, the establishment of a fee or fund for parks and green infrastructure maintenance and acquisition for green space. Is this something that we believe is ongoing, ready to go, aligned, a city action or a state action?
This is an interesting one because on the 2050 side, yes, but on the next 2 to 3 years side, there's a fair amount of funding sloshing around at the state level, and there's a group that's working on trying to, certainly for acquisition stuff. So with all the COVID relief money, there are attempts to try and have some of that flow down here. So
And Rob, is that going to be city and state, that money?
it is.
Uh-huh.
Um,
I'll just put that in a note.
so well, I mean, what I'm saying is there are a lot of efforts that are ongoing. So I think in some ways we probably want to just kind of monitor and support as opposed to trying to do something new on that one, on 3.
I love saying I agree.
Isn't it good? So much easier than what the hell's wrong with you, Joe? Which I have to find myself saying often. So
All right. So with
yeah, 4 feels like it's very much in our create program to introduce Richmonders to city's public green and blue spaces, how to get there, how to use them, individual interest, physical ability, other factors. Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Rob? Do you think that's ready to go?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it's necessary. And certainly in like, yes, let's make it happen.
Yeah.
Do we have any next steps of how we can make these two things happen?
I might actually move this monitoring and supporting the COVID relief funding to next steps
Yeah, I would too.
instead of that legislation. I'll move that note.
But the relevant legislation that's helpful to consider. I mean, it's the next full budget cycle. I mean, there's trying to make sure that, yeah. I don't know what the next steps.
I want to say something that is whatever's hindering people's introductions to public screen spaces. Which is deeper community involvement. So we say engagement, but engagement is different than involvement. And so I would say involve communities in programs to introduce Richmonders.
I'm going to put that. Kyle, I might not be doing this right, but I just want to make sure these thoughts are recorded, so I'll reorganize as needed.
Yeah, that's usually what I do. I just end up putting stuff places and then kind of go from there.
I mean, I guess, I mean, one thing that, is sort of strengthen partnerships with the schools, right? So that, kids and families are connected and, I mean, because a lot of, well, anyhow, just, yeah. So that kids that are taken out, and, God bless, it'd be better if they were taken out more, but it's a way to get resources into families sometimes is through stuff that goes out and connects to school stuff.
Yes, and on that note, I would add recommend school field trips to parks, because that does not happen.
Perfect. Yep.
Like for the whole class, put it. For the whole school, like make it mandatory that all schools visit all parks in the city or something like that, because it's it's something for kids.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Monica, I'd shy away from mandatory just because people are like, you can't make me, and I'm not sure how much jurisdiction we got over the schools, but you know how the national parks have their little badge program. I mean, we could do something like that for the city.
I was going to say the exact same thing. Oh, I was going to.
Yes.
There's a state program where you get some sort of certificate or something if you go to all the state parks. But yeah, we do that for city parks. That'd be cool.
Yes, but that still only engages the people who are interested in parks, which runs around the same circles.
Is there a way to incentivize that?
That's a great idea.
Because I mean, for the kids themselves, I know that it's probably easy to please them, but is there something that the school, like the administration, can receive as an incentive to actually establish that as a program?
And incentive to visit all city parks. I want badges and patches. I mean, those words are important. Like a whatever kind of program that. There we go. Thank you. Yeah, I'm not against. I just like telling schools to do stuff is rough, but so Kyla, what were you thinking about? Like, how do we?
Oh, like as far as an incentive?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've never worked in school administration, but I know that sometimes like when there's like leadership that has the buy-in to it, like potential partnership or something that their school can win, um, some form of resource or something that they can get could incentivize them um, to actually establish these trips, or to even maybe just a relationship or partnership that shows them the importance of their students. Like maybe if we can, like if not we, but if a case study was given about children exposure to you know green space and its connection to
Yeah.
academic success and things like that, making their educational experience more, I guess, more related to their everyday life, and being able to see the impacts on their testing or whatever, something, I don't know.
Yeah, I
If
mean,
there was
there's.
something out there like that, then
Uh,
Yeah, and I think that central administration would need to drive the initiative and not, maybe the school board, but not up to every individual school because
yeah, no, that's what I was
because they're
thinking
more
too. We're
driven
too far
by,
in the
yeah.
weeds in some ways, right?
right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how do you get? Because I don't know if anybody spent any time in schools. I haven't. It's all about the SOLs all the time, right?
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I have.
yeah. So how so that's kind of what I'm thinking is how do you um,
Well, you could
maybe just
connect it to
encourage,
you
right?
just
Maybe just
connect it
sorry. Go
to.
ahead, Mark. Go ahead.
I just say you have to connect it to all of the dots, all of the programs, and they all do. Parks connects to everything. But how to get administration to see that and then fund it. And as was mentioned, money from the American Rescue Plan is coming down. So to deal with communities historically impacted by everything. So there's a way. It just has to be crafted.
Yeah. So maybe instead of trying to come up with the answer, maybe what we do is say, encourage creative and innovative um, program ideas to um, tie health and equity outcomes from parks and green spaces to academic experiences or something like that, right?
That was beautiful, Rob.
And put it on them. It's being
Mhm,
recorded, so.
mhm.
Oh no, I wrote that
Oh,
down
look at
as you were
you.
saying
Good.
it.
I can say it. I can't ever type it, so we're good. Okay, I'm done.
Okay, so I am doing some timekeeping. We're doing kind of these two like subcomponent 3 and 4 together. So I'd say we have maybe like 5 to 7 minutes left on these two before we need to move to 1.3.
Agreed. We have a little. Do we have anything on any equity gaps that will be addressed with either of these programs or funds? If not, we can potentially identify the the implementation partners for the Parks Fund.
I'm just going to put in finance / budget / mayor's office.
All right.
Well, I mean, sorry, in some ways I mean, I don't know, I don't have any better words than the ones I'm about to use, right? Major equity gaps, disparities, right? So, even if we're increasing access, right? Access and utilization aren't the same thing. So trying to, really focus on increasing the proportion of, impacted community youth and families who actually get outside, right? I mean, what you were saying, Monica, before about it's all great to do the thing, but that's usually for people who are already in the parks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in that piece about health and equity, in my experience, we just need different partners. We always get the same partners and have the same results.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just so, can we, PCU is a powerhouse in the city. Can we do somebody else besides PCU for health assessments?
Any on that note, Monica, any partners that you feel like are untapped or not the typical partners that we might want to think about?
Yes, I think community healers would be one. Doulas, massage therapists. Go down to the grassroots level of providers rather than institutional. Herbalist, etc.
Cool. That's a good idea.
Yeah, whenever I think about partnerships that actually, in my opinion, make a difference, it's really those train the trainer type of situations where people and organizations that are already connected to the people we actually need to reach, training them and teaching them and then having them relay the message.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the model of leaving resources behind in community. So the community, the folks who were from a place have the skill set.
Mm-hmm.
Once the partnership, I
And I
mean, one of the
think
places that pops up around it, is all these healthy food initiatives. I don't know how many people have told me making food available and then folk don't know what to do with it.
Right.
Let's maybe take another minute to fill in anything else y'all can think of on this one or these two.
That's what I got.
Cool.
All right. We can go ahead and move on to objective 1.3 on the tab, which is the urban and community agriculture. There are 5 subcomponents here. I'm just going to read off the subcomponents real quick, and we can just do like we did on the other one and just have an open discussion and place things where we see fit. So the first one is to develop a fund and implement, while making visible and accessible an urban agricultural program that partners with food justice community organizations and includes an apprenticeship training program. 2, identify changes needed in community garden ordinances for sales. 3, increase funding for staffing, maintenance, and materials. 4, incentivize owners for multifamily dwellings to remove barriers to individuals growing their own food and allow universal access to community gardening and composting. And 5, encourage cultivation of native plants. So we can just go through these as we did with the other ones and just have open discussion.
I was just going to say water is a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
You said it's a huge deal?
Yeah.
There's a note about water somewhere.
It's in the first note under objective 1 or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it really makes a huge difference. And I don't know, yeah, just leave it like that is good. Yeah, I mean, there's a level of programming. I mean, within this, I think, I mean, that notion, yeah, paid apprenticeship programs, therapeutic opportunities, that's all good. But there really is also a level of sort of helping folks. There's a really big, and it's terrible, but for folk in communities, I mean, a lot of folk don't cook that much. And if they do, what they cook is not good. And so you've got this really wide gap between, food advocates and folks who are working against food deserts and folk on the ground in terms of what to do with what gets grown. And I don't know how to frame it, but I mean, we're putting a little mini garden in over at Hillside, and I mean, sometimes it, yeah, I mean, it's so.
Yeah, speak up, Rob. Well, I want to hear that because and I saw that happen at that school that I was at and all the time that I visit, schools and gardens, it seems like you said, there's experts, there's partners, there's volunteers that come out with money, they put these things to pieces, they grow food, but it's not eaten. It's almost if it's not trusted. And
I'm not sure it's a trust thing. You think it's a trust thing?
I think if you don't grow it with your own hands, of course there's a trust thing. And that goes back to my point about involving the community. You can, get kids to come out and participate, but if there's no ownership in this space, I mean, then, you know, people walk away from it. That's just been my.
I think that that's definitely part of the disconnect. And another part of it is like actual exposure to to how to make these things or incorporate these things into things that they're already familiar with.
Exactly.
Like just because there is fruits and vegetables, you know, in your area and you've never incorporated those into your dishes, it doesn't benefit you in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
So there has to be a complete program where, you know, you have involved the community in the establishment, the growth of these products, but then you literally take it from the farm and take it to the table and show them how to utilize those things.
Yes, or maybe not show them how to utilize those things because they already know if it's something that they want to grow. So in other words,
I'm telling you, Monica, that it's not always so. People have stories in their heads about what their granny did or what their mom, you know, some other, you know, in the summertime or, you know, but I'm not convinced that they necessarily, even if they say they want to grow it, that they necessarily know what to
especially
do with it.
if there hasn't been exposure, like the various generations, if there hasn't been exposure to something, it's like, oh, I don't want to eat that. Oh, I'm like just being hesitant to try the new thing that they haven't eat. Like if they're eating at McDonald's, then there aren't, you know, peppers and onions that they're, I mean, there may be onions, but you know, it's just like I haven't eaten at McDonald's in so long, I don't know what they say. But you know, they're just I mean, I've watched
Yeah, speak to eggplant.
yeah, let's use the eggplant. Like no one, like if I will eat an eggplant, but I will look at an eggplant and be like, okay, let me look up how to actually do this on my own, because every time I've eaten an eggplant, it's been eggplant parmesan at some Italian restaurant.
Right.
Like I don't know how to cook it myself.
well, let me ask this question of Rob, if I may, and I hope I'm not taking up time. But Rob, most of the when you talk about this experience, is it more young? What's the age group dynamic that we're talking about here?
I've seen it both, and young folk and also grown folk.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that people don't know anything, right? I mean, I'm just saying that I think it's a combination of lack of, I mean, all the things that you were saying, and then also just not, I mean, like for so, Monica, look, folk growing up in the hood, half the time, you know, like getting out from beyond the 5 blocks they live in is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so exposure is very much a thing. I mean, we got all this I mean, these are weird times we're living in, right? Because I mean, everything's available on their phones, but what's real and what's for me, you know, I mean, it's just I don't know. I'm old. See, I got gray in my beard. I'm just like,
No, you're exactly right. And I was just asking the question because just to your point, it's a matter of exposure and interest, and nobody will ever get there if they're not involved hands-on. So
absolutely,
you know,
all the time.
so like I said, from the beginning to the you know, to the oldest of the grandmas, yeah, they have memories, like you said, but if they're not in it,
the
somebody
grannies are
coming to plan
actually
for it,
the
they're leading it, right?
if you can get to the grannies, you're okay, because they remember, right? They were the ones, you
Exactly.
know, in the
And
summer
that
down south.
and put that down there, the grandmas, because this what he said. This point is so important. Us would be, you know, starting over from scratch. But the people who have the memory, that's what I'm trying to get at. The people who have the memory must be involved. And these institutions and partnerships are cool, but they don't get at what the real need is. And that's my point. Thank you, y'all. Thanks, Rob, for helping me get to that.
No problem. Yeah.
And Kalila.
So I've been typing. This is a really amazing discussion. Hopefully I'm capturing everything, but these are so interrelated. Like you're talking about increasing exposure, and then we have a subcomponent related to, connecting with multifamily dwellings, because that's, there are especially barriers there for people growing their own food. And I was thinking about this apprenticeship training, whatever program, it can't just be growing, it has to be using the food. So this is all really great.
Mhm.
So keep going, and I'm going to put it in.
Yeah, I mean, and it's also interesting, and I don't think I shouldn't say that. I don't think many of us have gotten to the let's grow a buttload of little tiny cucumbers and turn them into pickles and sell them. Right? I don't think that we've done very well at the sort of how do we turn these things that come out of the ground into, beyond just pull it out of the basket and eat it, sort of value add. And pickles are just the ones that, that come to mind quickly because they're, relatively easy. But salsa or, whatever. I mean, there's a whole canning, I mean, that's part of the deal. So, maybe there's a dried I don't know, right? I mean, lavender would be easy. But I'm trying to think about the farmers market and the black farmers market. And I mean, there are products there that are literally just like from the garden, go get you your stuff. But often there's more money to be made in some kind of a value add, entrepreneurial kind of situation.
Yes, well, it's the city has to I work with, well, I don't know, I guess they are working with farmers already who do that. So to expand it maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I guess I'm kind of thinking about the apprenticeship program in some ways. Um, and sort of adding on not just grow but use and potentially learn how to yeah. Okay. um
what about support, city support of agricultural operations? Um, what's being done now by the city?
Not much,
Yeah.
but again, right, I mean, we're in this time where and this is at least 2-year money. USDA has opened up a channel around urban agriculture. um so maybe what we need to advocate is an augmenting of city resources devoted to support for the funding and maintenance and operation of urban agriculture projects and partnerships, right? Like, I mean, right now, Parks has, I think, their community garden person, and that community garden person's got an AmeriCorps person, right? I don't know, beyond that, it's private nonprofits and the food justice folk trying to, do the best we can. But we're become. I mean, there's a lot going on in the urban ag space in our city. And if there were an urban ag czar that wasn't trying to police all of the things, but really was more about trying to, help point folks to resources. And, you know, I mean, there's this whole Hatch Kitchen deal that's over, you know, on South Side where, you know, there's the potential. I mean, there's some commercial kitchens that are, you know, opening up and making space available. And maybe that's where you can go and make your, you know, make your pickles. But folks don't know because they don't know. And, you know, maybe we create create a city-run cannery. I don't know if there is one, right? But, you know, out in rural America, I mean, canneries are a big ass deal because folks are growing, you know, they're growing food and they're putting it up for the winter. So maybe it's not so much about growing food and putting it up for the winter as it is about growing food and prepping it to sell at a farmer's market.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually had a, Rob, you kind of got to the question I was going to ask both you and Monica and Kyla, anyone. So there are a lot of people, different organizations in this space. The city has a couple of staff sort of, you know, that are in this space, and then other departments touch this in different ways, for example, like DPU and water and all of that. So if, let's say there were money,
Which city folks are you talking about besides the park folks? Are there
just like with planning, I know they sort of field
okay, yeah,
questions
no,
about
this is a
spaces.
different, yeah, no, this
Yeah,
is
like
programmatic.
yeah.
kinds of-
So if there were money for this programmatic, like I put in some notes about programming and coordination of all of this, is that something that would be that if we're sort of hosted at the city, let's call it that, would that be something that would not be a barrier to the community getting involved, or is it potentially better for an outside organization to be a coordinator? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, my thoughts are it's better for an inside organization to be a coordinator.
Mhm.
I'm experiencing that right now as a registered farmer, trying to work with the city and not being recognized as a legitimate player for some reason. So again, it goes back to institutions or well-funded nonprofit, but people who are in the community who have been influencers in the community don't get invited to the table, and they need to be, you know, outside of, again, institutions, nonprofits, universities, you know, and the traditional players include businesses, like Rob said, you know, and matter of fact, that should be elevated as well. And I'm not talking about your Fortune 500 businesses that are in the city. I'm talking about your small mom and pop shops.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see everything, you know, go down in terms of engagement and initiatives.
But it would
Again,
really, I mean, it would really need to be a resource, right? I mean, it would need to be somebody, I mean, like somebody who had experience at USDA or someplace else like that, that was coming down, you know, to sort of help the city access pots of money that, you know, some of us may know about, others of us may not know about. And then really, I mean, like, you know, like Monica's saying, throw the doors open wide. And, you know, and maybe, you know, at Monica's level, the top level of funding ain't available. Okay, but what is available?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There's lots of available for people like Monica. There are lots of opportunities, lots of, you know, if you want to grow community, you got to let people like Monica at the table, not only in a planning, you know, capacity, but you know, and so this also means, what do you call it? Making city staff aware of people like Monica who are available, who are able to find resources, willing to bring them to the community, willing to bring the community to the resources,
Mm-hmm.
but not recognized. And so therefore it doesn't happen. And you know, you're looking around, like for example, someone, like I said, I looked at the garden partnership list. I don't think there's ever been one in Southside at a particular location, except the work that Groundworks RVA has been doing. But I know there are people out here that do this work. They're just not recognized again.
Yeah, I mean, there's, Tricycle had their farm over on 9th and Bainbridge. Problematic in some ways, but we're in the middle of trying to see what we can do to save that spot because they're about to turn it into more condos, but that's another conversation. There's a small one. Yeah, anyhow, but yes, not nearly enough.
There
But
have
so
been
Monica, so
several
what do
over
you
the years.
help me. What's the need?
The need is to
What are you
involve.
pointing at as a solution? I'm sorry.
Yeah, the solution is to brainstorm, or let me see, expand agricultural players. Expand the scope of agricultural players to include people that live within specific jurisdictions or communities.
Mm-hmm.
Because another thing is, and take no offense, Rob, I love your organization.
That's fine.
But we have national organizations that come in and then they bounce around from one community to the other. We love the work, right? You're doing the work, you're exposing people, but at the same time, where are the people that are doing this who are trying to do it? Okay. I noticed I've like over the years that I've worked, I've seen so many men and women out here, who had the interest in gardening, who didn't make connections necessarily. They didn't want to be a part of large organizations. They were, working independently, but they get discouraged because only large organizations get the funding. Large organizations are able to bounce around and do a lot of advertisement and things like that. Where's the locally networked sources? They are out here, is my point.
Yeah. Pastor Hodge over at Second Baptist is doing a pretty good job with that on Southside.
Yeah, he's new to it,
Right, because
wonderful
but he's
to see.
he's what you're talking about, though, right? I mean,
Yeah, but he's also got a big church and a lot of people, a lot of members. But
so
it is wonderful.
Yeah, I'm just trying to wrap my. So
there have been numerous ones over the years. They might not all exist currently.
No.
Over Southside, Dennis Harvey was another one with the 4-H. There have been, what I'm saying is that there are a number of people who do so-called backyard gardening or
sure,
backyard
I get
agriculture.
it. But here's let me get to the question I'm trying to get to, because I think from a sustainability perspective, right? So what kind of support? So in my head, I want somebody at the city level who isn't learning this nonsense from us, but can actually like teach people stuff from a resource perspective, right? I mean, I think what you're the putting things in the ground and getting them to grow piece. I think there's a lot of expertise, backyard, larger, whatever. But the kind of sustainability piece about who's got resources to help whatever whether it's put in beds or get soil or whatever. I mean, is that the kind of when you say people not getting access to funding, is that what you're talking about?
Well, no, because people who are gardeners, they doing it. And the point here is to expand the people who are not traditionally reached. And that means empowering those people who are doing it to expand their reach, not necessarily across the river, but in their immediate vicinity.
So what would that okay, so for you, what would that look like? What would it allow you to do differently than what you're doing now? Or what would allow somebody, it doesn't have to be, I'm trying to kind of get that. What are we trying to boost and push?
Locally sourced networks. Just like you like locally sourced food, let's have locally sourced agricultural initiatives, which means that if people were resourced, would have an easier time to reach people, organize events that would reach people. Kind of like National Night Out. It's done in every neighborhood. The police, the city gives funds to invite the community to do X, Y, and Z. They would it happen otherwise? Well, people do neighborhood associations every year anyway. I mean, do their neighborhood meetings anyway. But it's another opportunity to engage the community in something related to safety. So instead, let's do something related to green space and sustainability.
All right. Brianna, on number one, I'd say USDA and other sources there. And then I love that, like, National Green Night Out or National Green Night, or not national, but citywide, right? Doesn't matter what anybody else is doing, but we're going to do citywide. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm sure we're out of time, but.
So I think we're actually doing okay. I did want to make sure we get down to a couple of these that we haven't quite touched on. One is the multifamily dwellings.
Yeah.
And then cultivation of native plants. So either of those that y'all have any thoughts on, especially the multifamily dwellings, I think, because that relates to a lot of these other ones.
Yeah, I mean, and I think even before we're incentivizing owners of existing multifamily, I mean, it's a both and. We need to get some really solid legislation around. You can't build any more high density multifamily without including green space, period, end of story, done. I mean, it's just, we're going to lose, and again, I mean, we're a green city but I mean, in the development zones, there's not going to be any place for folks, never mind being able to grow stuff. I mean, just even being able to sit under a tree. So there's that, and then so here's a proposal. Let's convert the historic 10-year tax credit that these folks are getting for building things that would have gotten built anyway, and transition it into a green space tax credit, right? I mean, our tax credit, I mean, it's right. It's just, our tax credit is functioning for a world that was 30 years ago, when nobody was building anything in the city, wasn't going to build anything in the city. These days, they're going to build a whole bunch of stuff in the city. Do not need to be incentivized. So let's incentivize them on the basis of what they do for green, and include green space, ability for folks to, grow food, water access, it'd be interesting. I mean, it would be interesting if we could put a couple of people in that urban ag office and sort of have one that was a resource for multifamily owners, that could, you know, sort of talk them through the process. And because Lord knows, I mean, these folks, I mean, they know how to rent apartments, right? So it shouldn't be that difficult, you know, to manage garden plots that are connected to those. I wouldn't have it roll like, oh, you get your 2-bedroom apartment for $1,495, and if you want a garden plot, then it's $1,500. No, I wouldn't. Don't think right. We're not trying to do that. So that becomes an issue, is to how to not commodify growing space, which I think we probably, you know, I mean, it gets interesting because it's private property, right? But we could find a way to tie it into the tax stuff somehow.
Kyla, I'm just doing a time check. Do you know when we are supposed to be wrapping up?
I think we're wrapping up at 2:50, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
okay. We have
Yeah, I think
plenty.
we have time.
Okay.
2:45 may be the earliest, honestly.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been great. I do have to leave for another call in 5 minutes. So
Okay.
thank you all.
Thanks, Monica. And let us know if you have any additional thoughts or anything that comes to mind.
Thank you.
You don't want to beat up on the multifamily folk, Monica?
My expertise is not there.
Fair enough. Native plants?
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I'm trying to remember where this came from. And I do remember talking about it. Like,
so here's the, oh God. All
go
right.
ahead, Rob. I want to hear it.
Native plants are really important, and it's very good to use them. And the folks who are their advocates are a little high and a little mighty and a little think that that's the only thing that matters, and it can put folks off. So maybe find new and inclusive ways to describe the importance of native plants. And yes, I did just say that out loud.
Yeah, we'll record it.
Oh. But
Well, I'm
it's
wondering.
true.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, it's true.
There's something. So I look at this and I'm like, okay, this is in the urban agriculture space as far as the strategy. So is there something we can connect this with as far as the like an entrepreneurial aspect? Are there native vegetables or food components? I honestly,
See,
I
we
just
just
don't
popped
know.
back into your expertise, Monica.
Yeah, we kind of did. And as a matter of fact, when we thinking of strategies, because oftentimes, well, never mind.
What?
I said, never mind.
Yes, I heard that.
I don't see, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm distracted. Did we get to that point about, like National Night Out on here? I don't see
Yes,
it.
I put it up in the first subcomponent about. I've just kind of put general programming in there, so I put I called it City Green Night Out. But yeah,
It's in the
that's
bottom
okay.
of number 4 there, Monica.
Right there. If you
Okay,
can
I just can't
highlight.
see it. Thank you.
I guess when I'm looking at this native plant thing, I would, as a non-sustainability staff person, I would say why. I know native plants are good for the environment and a bunch of other stuff, but from just a person looking at this, in the urban and community agriculture space, and if we can't answer that question, that's fine. It doesn't mean this isn't important. I'm just curious.
Well, that's kind of what I was talking about.
Mhm.
I mean, one thing is that they are just more sustainable,
Mhm.
right? Because they live in a place and are used to the climate there. Um, they take less water, they take less resources to keep them happy. Um, you know, doesn't really do much for climate change, but
Mm.
I mean, there's a real sustainability piece to using native plants that's very
Mhm.
that's very important.
Mhm. Okay.
Kind of like using native people who are native to the community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have the wisdom, the long-standing adaptations. They know each other. They get along with each other.
Right.
Um,
They don't require the same level of special care and feeding and tending and right. They're just like, oh yeah, yeah, I'm from
mhm,
around the way. I get it. Cool.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, they're just stronger for the
Mhm.
purpose.
Cool. Thanks. That's helpful.
Yeah. All right. That's about what I got.
Do we want to talk a little bit about who should be involved in all of this? From the city perspective, the community side, private sector. I've got a couple notes, businesses, especially
Oh,
small
good
businesses.
God! There's like 18,000 more tabs on columns on this. I thought we were doing good.
We're doing
We
great. We
are
just
doing
need,
good.
yeah, we just need M through O, right, Kyla?
Yeah, we just need to
Yeah.
get through the implementation partners and then potentially just going back and looking at our readiness for each of these things as well.
Oh, we forgot to do that.
And if we want to, I don't know, Brian, what are your thoughts on like just doing the X's on readiness for each of these components and then going back to the partners?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Good idea, Kyla.
That's what happens when you don't have baby brain.
I know. Oh my God. He's so cute.
Good birth.
Yes,
Yeah.
planned, signed, sealed, delivered. Yeah.
All right. So I guess for readiness for the first subcomponent, do you feel like this is this is the one that no, that's not that one. Do you feel like this ongoing, ready to go, aligned as city action or a state action?
Well, I think it's a city action. Universal water access is something that the city and DPU could just decide, could just decide to do.
Mm-hmm. And then the changes needed for community garden ordinances for sales. Is that a city action as well?
Yeah.
Think so.
Yeah. Increased funding for staffing and materials definitely sounds city-like.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, you can find money in other places, but I mean, for this,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
now, the multifamily is a combination of city and state, right? Because until we get rid of the Dillon rule, that whole dance around what the city can say to folks without, you know, going to talk to their mama is a little problematic.
mhm.
And don't then modifying. Yes, okay, good. Thank you. My heart wants to get rid of it, but I've heard from others that there are plenty of things that can happen beyond just getting rid of it that could help us get where we need to go.
So this,
City and state for native plants, I think.
yeah.
Mhm.
And I think there's a lot of actors there that could.
Yeah, I was gonna say take off the state, even though they do the definitions and all that, right? But I still think the city could take innovative approaches and just go ahead and do it.
That's true.
All right. Looks good to me. Let's go ahead and jump over to these implementation partners for the various components.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I really have to go now. So
Okay.
be
All right, it was
blessed.
nice
Have
to
a
meet
great
you.
Thanks
week.
so much.
Take care. Thank you.
Thanks, Monica.
Bye.
Brian, I just want a quick question. In the community organizations where it says lots of people who are already doing this work, many are not recognized, is that for the first bullet? Just want to confirm.
Yes, and that was more of a note to
Okay.
capture. Yeah.
All right.
And I think a lot of the sort of partners here will be similar across these different subcomponents.
I know Virginia State has like an agricultural program, but does VUU have one?
Not to the same degree.
Okay.
They've got a little greenhouse, but I don't think that they're as in the conversation. At least they haven't been to date.
Right.
There's like a person over there who
Right.
runs and gives folks access to the greenhouse.
Yeah, I went to high school with a guy that they used to work with USDA, and he's now at Virginia State.
Mm-hmm.
But like I grew up in a kind of agricultural community as well, so like they were kind of like in that from childhood.
Yeah.
Is that Michael, Kyla? Is that his name?
No, who's Michael?
No. Never mind. I met someone who's involved in all of that at Virginia State and does like a small agriculture something a long time ago.
Now, question, with Virginia State being outside of Richmond, does it still count as?
Yeah, it's a resource and a
Okay.
partner we can lean on. I mean, folks do.
With the
Yeah, so I mean the city departments I don't know where outside of parks, I mean, if we had a functioning community development, I mean, it would be because a lot of these spaces aren't necessarily going to be in parks, right?
Good point. Yeah.
Especially if we're talking about multifamily, especially if, we're all the stuff we're talking about in terms of Monica and, folks who are doing backyard and other stuff. I don't know where, but but it would be really good if the city took, this area seriously and brought in somebody who had some chops and, could really help. I mean, and I'm not even sure that it's a question of coordinate. I think it's really a high level, broadly equitably based resource person. Who's really just, where are the pots of money in the city? Where, what can parks do? What's available with this new law that we're going to get passed to make sure the multifamily has green space? There's 5 or 7 or 8 different kinds of grant programs that we're paying attention to and we're trying to draw down. And, the big green folks are looking at this and the medium-sized green folks are looking at this. And if you're starting up, try to look at that. And, we're helping to create a partnership of, low and mid-sized growers to go after a big USDA grant and everybody gets a chunk. Kind of like the Science Museum, like Jeremy, he's got a bunch of different roles, but kind of like that role that he plays as a, sort of looking out for resource and grant opportunities in the, in the climate side and urban heat and stuff.
Rob, have you been in touch or involved at all with, there's a professor at VCU who's trying to pull together a food related group, Jacobs or something like that is his last name, with I cubed.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I think that response, maybe I know he's been trying to pull this together for some time. I'm excuse me, I just found the link, so I'm just going to put it on here so we remember that exists. But anyway, that might be someone that we could potentially reach out to about,
what this should look like. Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I guess on the economic side, with the sales of this, like the sales aspect of the vegetables and whatever's produced from the gardens, what does there's like a minority business office?
I was just, not just the city, but if we go to the private sector, or community organizations, MBA, the Metropolitan Business League, has their young entrepreneur program. It would be interesting to, see what they could come up with.
Yeah.
What was the program called, Rob?
They call it their young entrepreneurs, I think. Maybe they have a better word than young, but.
And Kyla, I did write down the Minority Business Development Office. That's a good point.
Yeah, and if we're doing that, the SBA
Yeah.
potentially too, right? And then who knows? I mean, I think, I'm gonna have to dip in about 6 minutes. I mean, I think the community colleges have sort of looked at culinary stuff, but I wonder if there's anything,
Yeah, I think there's actually at the J. Sargent Reynolds campus downtown, which I think they changed their name, or was that one of the other? I don't
it's the other one.
the other one.
Yeah, it's like
I think I've heard
John
about
Tyler is going to be Bright Points. Like, really? Anyhow, never mind.
Kyla, I was wondering, I don't see just because Rob will have to leave in a few minutes, do you have the ability to just close our room so that we can see if people are back? And if not, we can just keep talking amongst ourselves?
We're not in a room.
We're not.
Yes.
So if people are done, they would come back here.
Yes.
Okay, that's why we don't have a button that says like leave room or something.
Right.
Got it. Okay, never mind. Well, Rob, tell me how you've been because we have a couple minutes. And also tell us if you have any more thoughts you want me to record on here, but I haven't seen you.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Just busy.
Yeah.
Ready for a vacation.
Are you going on vacation?
I am.
Where are you going?
Canada.
Wow. Where in Canada?
Canada. My partner has family up there, and so it is. She hasn't seen her parents in 2 years.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Border closed, all like that. So that's what we're doing.
That's awesome. And y'all can get in now for now, I guess.
I mean, we were gonna have to sort of squirrel our way, but we had figured out from the consulate kind of how to do that.
Wow.
But the Canadians opened the border.
Okay.
So yeah.
What
they're gonna regret and probably close back down.
I know. You might get stuck up there.
Rob, what part of you? I don't think if you didn't mention, if you don't mind sharing.
Like up on Lake Huron.
Okay.
Yeah, up past like you go across the Rainbow Bridge, Niagara Falls, and you just kind of keep going up. They are in, I don't know where. Southampton.
Okay.
It's a small little town.
I met this lady and her daughter when I was in Greece back in 2015 from Canada. And they were like super sweet. Like her mom was so amazing. We were in a poetry program for a study abroad program. And they had like dietary restrictions, so they couldn't eat a whole lot of food. So they were like doing a lot of their own cooking in the apartments. But they were like so amazing. And I like still keep in contact with them.
Well, so you sort of you don't really think much about Canada until like you've got a Canadian in your life. And it finally, I mean, number one, like all of Canada lives like within 50 miles of the U.S., right? Number one. And then number two, the thing they say about Minnesota nice, it's really just Canadian light. And with that,
thank you, Rob. Thanks
all
for all your
thank
awesome ideas. We'll see you next time.
Okie doke.
Hey, Alicia.
Hi. I just was able to pop back on. So sorry I got called away to handle something for Bob. So
no worries. We made good progress in our tiny group.
Yeah, it looks like I got on and spit into a breakout, I figured. So,
We're actually in the main, like, this isn't a breakout. So once,
oh, okay.
Kyla, once other people are done, sorry, you said they come back here.
Yeah, they can come directly.
Got it. So I'm assuming that'll be in a few minutes. But we did have 2 people, and they just both had to hop off recently.
Gotcha. Okay. How did it go?
I thought it went well. What do you think, Kyla?
I agree.
Yeah.
Small group, but good conversation.
Yeah, I think because we spent most of the time on the urban agriculture one and on the parks one. But since we had Rob and Monica, they were both pretty much subject matter experts on a lot of this.
Good. Glad it went well. Yeah, I know we're going to ask the folks for their feedback on the next date for the meeting. And I was just thinking about it at the beginning of this meeting before I had to hop off based on, I think Rob was the one that put in there, oh, I'm still eating lunch. But, we picked this time and I know it was a long time ago now, but based on the feedback from all of the working group members, right? Like I think we sent a survey or something.
Yes,
to
we did
everyone at the
do like a
beginning.
check-in. We actually did a check-in at some point in the spring saying, like, does this time and date still work for you? And at least for this group, the vast majority of people it did, and there wasn't a better time for most of the group.
Ah, that's right. So thank you for that reminder. Yeah, because I was just wondering if it was worth it to check in on the time again too, because obviously something, we're just don't have a lot of people that are participating. So whether it was just because it's the summer or if something changed, people's schedules with the time too. So
yeah, it could be worth doing every so often.
Yeah.
I hear you guys, but I can't see you.
No, I can see everybody.
I don't know why I can't. Am I still sharing my screen maybe? In the breakout?
No, we don't see your screen.
This is really strange.
That's weird because I see you and Peter and Christina and Brianna and Alicia and Kyle.
So, are you guys done with yours?
Yep.
And we're just waiting for David's group to come back?
I guess so.
Yeah, I just messaged Kendra to find out if they were done or not, because I didn't want somebody to be in the middle of a sentence and abruptly removed.
You are. That was really strange. You're like buried under all my windows. So then did you guys not have anyone in your breakout?
Oh, we did. We had Rob and Monica, but they both had to hop off just within the last few minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
I was like, it's the Office of Sustainability team.
Yeah, no, it was just me and Kyla. We got it covered. Don't worry.
Kyla and Alicia got a lot done.
Well, Alicia had to hop off too. So yeah.
You and Kyla got it all done.
We're good.
Great. Good stuff. Yeah, we got through ours. That was great.
So, Peter, I don't want to put you on the spot, though. You can just stay muted if you don't want to talk. But I would love to hear more about what you're actually doing in your new role for CRLC when you get a chance.
Yeah. So I'm
Besides
doing
being our working group member, which is awesome.
But I'm doing a lot of similar stuff to what I did for the Office of Sustainability. So I am the community engagement manager at the Capital Region Land Conservancy, and I run the social media, and I'm helping with the website and all of that stuff I typically do. But I'm also going to be running like community engagement events and my big project right now is the conservation games.
Mhm.
It's like an upcoming 3-week-long extravaganza celebrating conservation in the area. And we're going to have educational events and volunteer events. So I'm coordinating all of that. And then when we basically are bringing on new properties or new conservation easements, I do community engagement before, during, and after that process.
Awesome. That sounds great. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
So happy you're in Richmond. Anyway.
Me too.
Yeah, that's awesome, Peter. Congratulations. And so happy that your experience with our office, helped in some small way to give you some skills and to move on to your next position. And so that's awesome. Really proud of you.
Great. All right. Well, if everyone is back, how did that go? Good feedback, everyone? We got through ours. I know Brianna and Kyla got through theirs. David and Kendra, how'd that go? All done?
Yeah, got through ours as well.
Fantastic. Great. I'm so glad. Thank you, everyone, for sticking through to the end. So let's see. We have an adorable baby to look at. And so the next question we have for you, and Brian, would you like to introduce this?
Yeah, sure, I can do that. So, y'all have a meeting on your calendars, I believe, for August 23rd, which would be the sort of part 3 of the implementation and accountability discussion. Because this is, end of summer, a lot going on for everybody / people taking vacations and all of that. We wanted to do a quick poll through Menti if you would prefer to have that in mid-September instead. So for this group, it would be Monday, September 13th. So if you have the slides, I've never used this, so Jen is our Menti expert, and tell me if I'm doing something wrong.
It's working great. Already there.
Awesome. Okay. So you can either click on the link if you have the slides open, or you can go to your browser and go to menti.com and type in that code, or you can just go on your phone, which I find is the easiest way to do this since we all have a billion browser tabs open all the time, and respond to our poll that way. I am seeing the results, and I can just tell you what is coming in. We have a few people here, so maybe we'll send this out to the group to get their thoughts after the meeting. But
can you make an option for either? Because I'm fine with either one.
Yes, good question. Can I do that? Okay. I just did that. If you refresh it, I don't know. So we have 3 responses, which I think 1, 2, 3. We have like 4 working group members on the call. So maybe.
So yeah, we need to get at the ones who
Yeah.
can't be here. So, but thank you so much for those of you who stuck with us. It's really important to make sure that everyone's included, especially in this last part about accountability and how to measure the success of this work. So we want to do what we can to include everyone. But with that, there is the survey on how we're doing, and here we go.
There you go.
So get it over with from the ones who are here, and either date works. Okay. Thank you. We'll be doing this for the other groups as well. It'll be interesting to see what they say too. So thanks. Any general reflections that you guys want to share? Any events going on coming up that you'd like to tell us about? Feel free to type any resources in the chat. Otherwise, you can have your day back, and we're just really grateful that for your input and for you sticking with us. All right. Have a good one, guys.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, thank you guys.